Kathy Nolasco, and I'm a deacon serving at Plantation United Methodist Church. I've been here since 2009. And for me, what I love about being a deacon is being able to spend time doing what I love and what I've been called to. I get to spend a lot of my time in the music ministries here, and that is my specialty as a deacon. And so I direct the adults choir and the children's choir, and I lead the music ministries here. Well, when I was in high school and college, I knew that God had called me to serve in some way, and I also had a gift and love of music. But I didn't really know how it would work itself out in my life. I thought for a long time that I would be a missionary, and so I went on lots of mission trips. I even was a mission intern for one summer and worked with ethnomusicologists, thinking that might be a direction I could go. But then in my junior year, I transferred into Florida Southern College, and I went into the Bachelor of Sacred Music program. And in that program, I did an internship with a deacon at First United Methodist of Lakeland. His name is Lee Lallens, and he's the music minister there. And it was eye-opening for me. I had never even considered really going into ordained ministry. I didn't even really understand that I could be in ordained ministry and serve as a deacon and be involved in all this music. And so when I had the chance to be a part of a vibrant and amazing music ministry and see what a deacon does day in and day out, it helped clarify, made sense to me how God was going to use my call to service and my call to music in one, and to serve the church and the world in that way. That there's not one cookie-cutter explanation of what it means to be called to ordained ministry, that there's a lot of different contexts and a lot of ways that can be lived out in the church and in the world.
Hi everybody, my name is Justin LaRosa, and I serve as the minister of the downtown campus of Hyde Park United Methodist Church called the Portico, and I'm an ordained deacon in the United Methodist Church. And I love being a deacon. I didn't know how I got here, but here's one of the things. I always had a heart for the community. I was trained as a social worker, a licensed clinical social worker, and my heart always was drawn to be with people in the community and connect them somehow back to their purpose, to God. And so being a deacon in the United Methodist Church is all about connecting the church to the people and the people to the church. And so that's the primary call. We're called to word and service, just like elders, but different, that we're not called to sacrament and order. And so that's a subtle difference, but for the deacon, it's all about the people. We are the bridge, and sometimes to reach the people who aren't in the church. And so that's why I love being a deacon, and why I love doing what I get to do.
I'm Shirlene Stevens, and I'm a candidate for ministry, for ordained ministry as a deacon. In 2005, I was out of work and going through a period of discernment and prayer. What should I do next? And during one of my times of devotion, I really felt a strong call to serve. And at the time, I felt it meant that I probably should be serving in the church in some way. I think thinking about it now, I realize that I must have, it was a call to serve full time, but I was afraid of what that meant. I didn't quite understand it. And instead of seeking more information on what that would look like, I decided to serve as a layperson. And so I got involved in all areas of ministry, in committees, etc., really serving and enjoying it. I really did. However, years passed, and I realized I still felt a little unfulfilled. I felt as if there was something missing, like I should be doing more. And again, period of exploration and prayer, still trying to figure out what to do next. I knew that I felt I was not equipped enough to serve in full-time ministry, and I felt that perhaps that wasn't for me. So I actually attended a retreat, a women's retreat at the Life Enrichment Center last year in 2015, and while I was there, listening to the speaker's message, which was, "Can God get a witness?" That was actually Pastor Juana Jordan was the keynote speaker, and during her message, I actually heard that still voice that said deacon. And even then, I sort of felt a little bit of denial as to whether or not that was actually what I was being called to do. But I prayed about it, and I felt that if that's what God was calling me to do, I needed to pursue it. And so I decided to go full charge into it, and spoke with my local pastors, and And as I continued to go forward, exploring what that would look like, what I needed to do, the doors just started opening for me in terms of next steps. And I got enrolled in divinity school, and the next thing you know, I'm in the process. I'm heading towards the door. I felt that sometimes God calls us, but we really don't want to accept the call because it seemed like such a huge burden and there's so much involved in it. But at this point, at my step, as I continue the process, I feel that I just need to have faith and trust God to deliver me and carry me through it. The difference in the deacon order and that of the elder or any other track for me is that I'm able to specialize in a particular area of ministry. And my interest is in discipleship ministries and working with the body and helping people to be better equipped to become better servants in the world, and also helping to connect people in the world to the church through various methods. And so I think one of the things that makes the deacon track a little bit different from the other areas is that you're able to specialize in music, you're able to specialize in education, you're able to find what your specific gift or talent is and use that purpose for the kingdom to help to bring others to Christ and to help to equip those who are in the body to be better, closer to Christ.
As I consider my own call, I have to remember that it wasn't like a deep voice that said, "Oh, Linda, I'm calling you." It was a series of events, really, that had happened that touched my heart in a way and pulled me closer and closer to what God had called me to do. And that really was to serve, to serve in the community, to serve the church, but more importantly, to serve Him. And it's not always something that is going to be clear-cut every single time. Everyone's call is different. And I will always say, when people say, "Well, I could do something else," if you can do something else, I don't think you're called to ministry. I can't do anything else but what I'm doing right now. Maybe later in some other life, in some other time, that may happen. But for now, there's nothing else I can do than serve God in this capacity as an ordained member of the United Methodist Church. Elder, mainly because I really thought, I did look at deacon initially in terms of service because my heart is service oriented, but it is also oriented in terms of how I have this ability to reach people across the barriers that normally get people in trouble. I spent many years doing work across gender and racial and ethnic differences, and so I really believe that God called me to be a preacher, to share the word, and you can do that as a deacon. But I know in my heart of hearts that I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and for who I'm supposed to be doing it for. And so when I think about the clergy, in the sense of clergy rather than deacon, it has less to do with serving the sacraments and having this clergy thing as it is truly serving God the way God decides and not what I think best. That's pretty much, and that's why I'm a preacher.
Hello, my name is Steve Souders, and I am the command chaplain or senior chaplain at Naval Station Mayport outside of Jacksonville, Florida, and also I help chair the Extension Ministry Retreat Breakfast every year at annual conference with the bishop. So who are Extension ministers? They can be district superintendents, they can be missionaries, they can be campus ministers, also like myself as a military chaplain working with General Board and Higher Education, we're Extension ministers. Extension ministry is that which extends the ministry of a local United Methodist Church or the annual conference beyond the walls of the church. For instance, when I was at Marine Corps Recruit Depot, 50,000 young Marine recruits went through my battalion in 3 years. And I was able to be there to help represent the annual conference and to represent the United Methodist Church in reaching the love of Christ for those young men in very difficult situations who were not free to go out to any local church during weekends because of their training. So we helped make a difference in their lives. Or when I was in Haiti with the great earthquake in 2010, to be able to go ashore and to help in that particularly difficult situation, rebuilding homes, leading volunteers, the sailors off the ship, to help distribute supplies, working with religious leader liaison, making a difference.
Hey everybody, my name is Dan Wunderlich and I'm an elder serving in Extension Ministry through the Florida Conference of the United Methodist Church. I help pastors, ministry leaders, and ministry organizations learn how to better communicate. Because the better we communicate, the better we make connections. And the deeper our connections, the more opportunities we'll have to share the gospel with the communities around us. Now, I do a lot of my work over the internet. I host a podcast about preaching called Art of the Sermon. I write blog posts and create resources through defininggrace.com, and I help out individual pastors and organizations with things like preaching and social media ministry. But you don't have to do this work full-time or be in extension ministry to try new things and to be creative as an elder. I have a couple friends who are elders who serve churches and also have creative projects on the side like podcasts of their own. And you know what? You're in the perfect conference to be creative and to try new things. Bishop Carter, the Cabinet, the Fresh Expressions movement, they all believe that the world is changing, the culture is changing, and so is ministry. Now, I served in college campus ministry, and I was a senior pastor in a 2-point charge, so I know there are parts of the job and responsibilities that we're always going to have. But we also have the opportunity to be creative and to try new things. And so when you think about elder, when you're discerning your path, follow those dreams. Think about new ways to reach new people. Think about new ways to reach the communities around you. Because God has called us not simply to be stewards of creation, but of God's creativity as well.
I'm pastor at Isle of Faith United Methodist Church in Jacksonville. I'm a licensed local pastor full-time and have been for the last 14 years. Me, licensed local pastor, it's what I was called to do. I'm serving the church, and one of the most important things I understand for myself about being a vocational clergy is that we're all pastors. Whether you're part-time or full-time, elder, deacon, licensed, God has called me to serve the church. And it was a call I did not take lightly and did not understand at first. But once God made that clear, that was the call in my life that I knew that I was called to be pastor.
Hi, I'm Jay Therrell. I'm the Northeast District Superintendent, and I'm an elder in Full Connection. I've been asked to say a few things about local pastors, and I guess I'd start with the fact that I was one. When I started out my journey towards being called to become a pastor, I started as a student local pastor. I've been to License to Preach school. But the other thing that I would say is, especially from the perspective of a district superintendent, that local pastors are the lifeblood of our denomination, and that if we didn't have local pastors, our denomination would come to a screeching halt. They help our churches to be able to do ministry in all sorts of varied settings, from urban all the way to rural. And the course of study and the advanced course of study are really effective means for gaining a theological education. In fact, until actually quite recent, about the last 30, 40 years or so, the course of study was the primary means that Methodist pastors for a long time became pastors. So we are just so grateful for our local pastors, and if we didn't have them, we'd be in big trouble.
Hi, my name is Derek Scott III. I'm the director of Campus to City Wesley Foundation. I realized a few years back that there was a call on my life to be in ministry, but it didn't look the same as it did for other individuals who felt called to be ordained or even called to be commissioned ministers. I was called to be a layperson in the church, to serve the church in unique ways, in significant ways, but in ways that actually do look very different at times. And I'm so excited to be a lay leader within the Florida Conference, because I get to stand in a space that many of my friends who are ordained clergy aren't able to stand in. I get to interact with people, and I get to talk to people about Jesus, but not from the position of someone in the pulpit. I get to talk to people about Jesus as someone who works just like them, who has a 9-to-5 kind of job. And so I just say all that to say simply that every single person has a calling. No one is supposed to just be a butt in a seat, if that's okay for me to say. We are all called to be a part of this amazing story of Jesus in the world and to play an important role in the mission of Jesus going forward. And so I really encourage you to do what you got to do to get around people who will encourage that gift in you, that will stir up the calling in you, so that you will be a part of this thing. You'll be a part of this beautiful thing that Jesus is doing, whether you are an ordained clergy person, woman or man, or like me, a lay person who just is trying to be a tangible expression of the love of Jesus in the world.